Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about something I am very passionate about, reading. And hopefully that's why you're here. I did not grow up being an avid reader. I like to write and like sports in school, but my normal activity in the afternoon was not picking up a book. I actually started reading more the spring of my junior year in college, and that's when I fell in love with Hemingway. I was off in Paris with him, and I'm actually reading one of his books right now. It's called True at First Light, and it takes you on an African safari. Very beautiful, and really you're just in a whole new world. But anyway, I really got into reading over quarantine, and that's when it felt much more like an addiction. I would just read and read and read, probably like a lot of you. But why am I telling you this? Because you don't have to grow up an avid reader to become an avid reader. It is never too late to become a reader. And the first thing to do is to claim yourself as a reader. Say, I am a reader, and what do readers do? They read. So long intro, but today I wanted to talk about some ways to read more. These are just a few helpful things that I've picked up along the way, and if you want to start reading, these could be a great place to start, or at least I hope so. They've worked for me. So I was going to look up some stats about reading in America, and then I realized I actually have done some research of my own over the past few weeks, and maybe you've participated in it. If you see my LinkedIn page, you might have noticed that I posted a poll about reading, and the results are in, everyone. My question was, how often do you read books in a week? 16% said every day, 18% said they read 4 to 6 days, 19% said 1 to 3, and then the last group, which the option was, I'm trying to read more, which indicates not really reading at all, this was 50%. And to put it into perspective, I had 182 responses, and maybe this is not the most scientific way to conduct research, but nonetheless, almost 100 people said they were trying to read more, which is great and very encouraging, and hopefully today's review helps. So tip number 1, let's get started. Break down your reading goal into something very small. If you listen to my Atomic Habits book review, I talk about how if you're starting with something, you start with the smallest action. If you're trying to go to the gym, you put on your tennis shoes. That's the hardest part, right? Starting. We talk about this all the time. And with reading, it's really the same way. Make it your goal to read 1 page a day. And I know that sounds really stupid, but if you can read 1 page, then well, most likely you'll read way more than 1 page, but also 1 page a day is doable. And if that's where you need to start, you start there. My goal right now is to read 10 pages a day, and oftentimes I exceed that, but in order to stay in the habit of reading, I go with just 10 because it is very doable for me. Tip number 2. I read somewhere that a great way to read more is to read in the in-between moments, which is very beautiful and poetic. But when we have extra time, we often reach for our phones or turn the TV on, and really reading can be a replacement for those things that we do in the in-between. So we think we need these huge chunks of time to read. And I will say, for some books, you do need a lot more mental energy and concentration to ponder the book, which does take more time. And so if that is the case, have a couple books. Have a light read and a heavy read. I'm ashamed to say, I'm one of those people who reads 5 to 6 books at any time, which I probably need to tone down. But I have categories for my mood, my mental capacity. So I read self-improvement, business, Christian, and then also fiction. So if at the end of the day I'm really mentally exhausted, fun fiction it is. But back to the in-between moments. In general, you can read a page or 2 while you're making your dinner, or if you show up somewhere early. There are times when you can read in those moments. And just a side note, carrying a book everywhere you go is a great way to start reading more, because you will find those moments that you have if you get somewhere early. You just pull out your book and start reading instead of scrolling through your phone. And tip 3, if you haven't been reading much recently, start with a book that you are genuinely interested in. Read something that you like or you think you'll like. Don't start yourself by torturing yourself, agonizing over an uninteresting book. Start with something easier, maybe something smaller, just to get the ball rolling. This was actually my roommate's idea, but it rings true. And then on the flip side of that, if you start a book and are not enjoying it, be okay with stopping. Know yourself. This took me forever to come to terms with. Recently, I picked up 2 well-reviewed books, and I had to stop because the ideas to me, we're not filling my mind with good things. And just a self-improvement side note, the things we fill our minds with really make a difference in who we are. We're very malleable. Frederick Douglass said, "A man is worked upon by what he works upon." pretty big statement and very true. So what books are you working upon? And think about how they're working upon you. And take inventory of how you spend your time. Are you watching TV? Are you reading things that are worthy of your time and energy? And then, are you spending an hour or two watching TV, scrolling through social media? You could replace a chunk of that time with reading. And if you say you're trying to read more, are you actually trying? Think about how you spend your time and decide. And really, when it comes to reading and getting into it, it's best to use the tools that work well for you. If you're a big to-do lister, write it on your list and make it happen. If you need to schedule time in your calendar to read, then schedule time in your calendar to read. And then lastly, think about why you want to read. There are many benefits of reading. I actually have a quote from an article in the New Yorker, and it says, "Reading has been shown to put our brains into a pleasurable trance-like state similar to meditation, and it brings the same health benefits of deep relaxation and inner calm. Regular readers sleep better, have lower stress levels, higher self-esteem, and lower rates of depression than non-readers." So those are just some benefits, and just think about why you want to read and use that motivation to get started. I hope this was helpful. I'm sure it only scratches the surface of steps you can take to start reading. So if you have other ideas, please drop them in the comments. I'm sure other people will be appreciative of them. And as always, follow the hashtag #TheSpinalTap so you never miss another book review. And until next time, happy reading.